Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC, Friday Night Forum. So a few familiar faces here with us tonight. Started off with Natalie. How you doing, Nat?
Hi, John. Yeah, I'm good. Good to be on today.
Cracking show last night, wasn't it? We've got like about 350 odd views, if not more already, just in 24 hours. It was a real good show, and we've got a few more good Thursday night shows planned as well, haven't we? So look out for those ones. Atanu from the United Star. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, John, thanks for having me today.
Good to have you back on, mate. Absolutely. And Yehuda, it's been a few weeks. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm great, except from the weather. It's very hot, but surviving. Thank you for having me on.
It's always hot where you are, mate. We're always a bit jealous of that. And John, how are you keeping, mate? You okay?
Don't be.
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me on again. Hi, guys. How are you?
It's all good, mate. All good, thank you. And I think we got some unfinished business from last show. I think there was one player that we never got around to talking about. So if we get a chance a little bit later, we'll drop that one in there as well. So yeah, as always, the Friday Night Fan Forum. It's all about what you guys want to talk about, and the rest of the guys can obviously jump in there as well. So, John, we'll start off with yourself this time.
Okay.
You sent me a few topics, but which one did you want to go for, mate?
I did. Let me just have a look through. Sorry. It's just. I'll just start off with something quite easy. I think that we've all probably got opinions on. Obviously, United were top for the league in Christmas. I know they had played a game extra, but what do you think the actual reason was? Was it perhaps a Dubai factor? Perhaps it split the squad? Was it injuries? Was it training facilities? Was it a combination of everything? And I also want to throw a quick question to everybody, if that's all right, about Casey Stoney. She obviously done amazingly well, and I can't imagine the day she left, she gave Man United her resignation and nobody knew. So for me, it makes it even worse that things have taken longer. This is from what Casey said, and I don't know her, I don't speak to her. This has been at least a couple of months in her mind. Surely United knew even before she left. Just wonder what people think about the delay for getting a manager appointed. Nothing against the guy that was appointed interim today, of course.
Yeah, okay. So obviously, Natalie, you get a lot of airtime already, so we'll talk about it at the end. But let's hear what Yehuda has to say about this one then. So we were top of Christmas, everything was flying. It all went a little bit downhill. It's been continuing to go downhill on the pitch and off the pitch at the moment. We definitely need some stability, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks we'll get that stability. But Yehuda, what's your thoughts on John's question about why it started to go downhill?
Well, at first, at that time, I thought it was mainly the injuries, but even taking the injuries out of the equation, you could sense that something happened to the spirit of the team. Now it's very hard to guess exactly what is the reason for that, but I don't think the injuries had a big part, especially Tobin Heath and Leah Golton, that were both, for my opinion, the two most influential players. So it was very hard to be without them, for Tobin for the rest of the season, and Leah for almost all the rest of the season from the moment she got injured. But I can only speculate that it was issues outside of the pitch that basically caused the fall in the spirit of the team, because even with the injuries, we definitely should have looked different, and it didn't happen, and you just felt that it's like a snowball that just keeps rolling, and no one seems to be able to stop it, because we still had good players. It's not that if 2, maybe 3 players injured, it's supposed to be the end of the world. We could have managed better without them, but I think it's mainly the issues off the pitch, because I think I felt it wasn't 100% professional, like on the pitch issues. You could feel that something was not right. Sometimes you see teams that have deep in form, but you can see that it has say tactical reasons or something like that. But for me, it was different here, and all the issues that we found out later about how the team, how the club actually treated the team, and how things gone from behind the scenes. I think that had a major impact on the team, on the girls, because they need this confidence from the team, from the club, that no matter what, they have their back, they have the support, and they will give them everything that they need to perform. And I guess there was a lot of uncertainty in the air that played a part in it. And for me, it's mainly things off the pitch.
Yeah, Atanu, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, I think injuries played a major part in our decline after the new year, because I think the Chelsea game was the one after which we weakened our grip on the top spot. And well, injuries basically. I think Haley Ladd, Tobin Heath, and Leah Galton. The injuries to these three players actually weakened our title race chances. And well, I think there were a lot of things happening behind the curtain as well, as we saw many reports coming in after Casey Stoney resigned. And well, these two were the reasons that because of which we couldn't get top three.
John's put in the comments, and I should have opened the show with this, completely forgot. Congratulations to Ivana on her wedding day. So that was absolutely amazing to see some of those pictures today. So yeah, I'm sure Natalie, you can come on to that. We can come on to that right now, actually. Obviously, answer John's question, but obviously seeing those pictures, some happy pictures today of Ivana. It was good to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ivana's sort of life and soul. I sort of said to her, she gives me energy. She's just always happy, always smiling. Even when sort of you heard of Casey talking about her and potentially Casey's mood was a bit down, she always spoke positively of Ivana, and Ivana's that kind of bubbly character, and brings everyone up. And I think you need people like that, especially the time that we've gone through. I think for me, just answering John's initial question, what sort of is the reason why? I think it's injuries, but I think we've sort of talked about it on this show, John Foster now, about when you're like leader. Casey's the leader. Casey run everything, and when she's feeling down or when she's not getting the support, that filters down, and then it filters to the performances on the pitch. And even though she would be going, come on guys, they would have picked up vibes, negative vibes. You could hear her voice potentially changing in the way she was answering questions. For me, I think that's sort of what it was. It's sort of like, we're sort of seeing it now. Casey's left, and there's no communication from the top to the players. And everything's going really slowly and all that. And I don't want to get onto my point yet, but I just think that's potentially what's happened. People have just filtered down and the bad vibes, I think, and then now we're just sort of seeing it out in the open.
Yeah, I think you took the words out of my mouth a little bit there. I think if you have a look at the way even we've been as fans, I mean, for 2.5 years, we've been very happy, very positive. We've almost taken the mick out of the men's side by saying, look, the women's team are fantastic. We're doing this. Come over to watch the women's team because everything's rosy. And I think sometimes it's like when everything's going well, it kind of hides any bad stuff out there, because let's be honest, nothing would have changed. It wouldn't have suddenly got worse. I know COVID was a distraction, and I completely get that. But I think it's always would have been bad out there, but we just wouldn't know it because it was hidden, because the results on the pitch were probably doing well. Obviously, then there's rumors about Casey getting a budget, Casey wanting this, that, and the other, and she wasn't happy with it. We've said ourselves, come January on this show, said it a number of times. We can see that there's something happening behind the scenes. You know, literally 2 or 3 months later, Casey leaves, which is an amazing statement from her. And obviously, it's not the club for 6. They've obviously got no plan in place, or there might be a plan in place, but it's certainly not being in action at the moment. So, why was the downfall? I think obviously injuries don't help when your best players aren't playing. That is obviously a big thing. But even when we played teams that we should have won, we didn't, and I think that would be down to morale. I think that Yehuda, you kind of mentioned that one about you know, the buzz just basically gone from the team, and obviously that was down to what was going on behind the scenes that we all kind of knew was happening. When you watch the team for so long, you know when something's not quite right. It's okay to have one bad game, but to consecutively have so many bad games, and even when we won, we just scraped wins at times as well. Yeah, injuries played a massive part of it, but for me, you could overcome the odd injury if you were settled behind the scenes, and obviously we weren't settled. John, I mean, do you want to answer your own question, or do you want to kind of come in with your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that actually with Nat, that inexperience in management, even though it's a totally different level, players do feed off the vibe that is given from the manager. And all I can say, it must have been incredibly bad for Casey Stoney to walk away from what is particularly a dream job, I would say. There's not many jobs in women's football. There are obviously some. There's more established teams, obviously, in the world, but there's not many jobs I'd imagine that are more of a dream job than being manager of Manchester United from the start as well. That actually makes it even more, because nobody can say that she came in and she's taken someone else's team over. Do you know what I mean? Effectively, it's hers, and for her to walk away was obviously massive. I agree with you, John, that it's not the club for 6, but I still go back to the point. I don't believe she walked in that morning, handed a resignation in, and nobody in management knew that she was unhappy, on the verge of walking out, which people are unhappy now. And I get that, because as Nat said, there's no communication. People get frustrated. But if you add in, they might have known for a while before that as well. I think it just makes it look worse. And it's just sad, because everybody here loves Manchester United, and we want Manchester United to succeed, but we also want them to look good, you know, look professional, look the biggest club in the world. That's what we try and portray, and this just makes it look at, you know, I mean, it's bad enough with the protests because of what they're doing to the men's team, in a way, but they've just actually looked like it just makes me wonder whether it might be another Liverpool, and I hate to say that, but you know, teams like Man United need funding, don't they? You know, they do need funding. They need to be challenging, or they might as well not be happening. Sorry, rambled on a bit.
No, that's okay. I mean, I definitely agree, and I've said it myself. How unhappy was the Casey being to handing a notice in what was such a ideal job for her, and the fans loved her and everything. But just coming back to yourself, John, while this is your topic, I mean, what do you think would have been like the final straw for her? Obviously, we've seen all the rumours about facilities and behind the scenes and the budget. Yeah. Do you just think she maybe just like kind of lost heart and had a different vision for where the club should want to go? Do you think it's something along those lines?
Maybe it is that. You know, United were really good last year. As the guys have already said, Leah Goldson, Tobin Heath, massive misses, but they were still losing games they probably should have won. You know, so you can argue that. Hayley Ladd was a massive miss. I don't know if Casey perhaps tried to get a bit of the squad unity back by playing Katie Zellum. I've got nothing against Katie Zellum. I think, as I said in the last show, I think she's done amazing for Manchester United. But Hayley Ladd was so important. And I know she was injured towards the end. And sometimes you go back to your default, don't you, when you're either at your wit's end or you're lacking a few ideas. You go to those who've got you out the mire before, sort of thing. I don't know what the last straw was. I mean, you guys, especially Nat and you, John, know much more than I do about the club. But you can only get so many kicks, if that makes sense, as a coach, whatever level it is. You know, even going back to when I was coaching the girls' team, they were last choice of time for training, last choice of time for matches, hand-me-down kits. Their presentation for their trophies was stuck on the end of the night when all the boys' teams had gone home, and they were asked to pay the same amount. We were even told we weren't allowed to train twice because it wasn't fair to the boys' teams who didn't want to a week. And you can only get so many. You can only get up so many times, and sometimes you think, is this worth it? Perhaps it was that. I don't know. You guys know her much better than me. I just feel she must have been at such a low point to leave the job. It's really sad, actually. That's just
yeah. No, go on, Natalie.
And I don't know if Atanu wants to come in after, but yeah, I totally agree, because if you watch the way at the end and the way she was crying, the way she was with everyone, it's just, it's got to the point where they don't match my ambition. So if you don't match my ambition, I've got to walk, and that's it. And I thought, we're going to get a new manager in, and I don't think that a new manager's a bad thing. I think it can be seen as a good thing, but the club have got to want it. The club not want a new manager, but have got to still hold that ambition, and that's why she left. And you would have thought that would have been that kick to sort of do it, but it's not really been nice. It's sort of gone the opposite way. And I think this is the second time, John, me and you have had a conversation, and we talked about it when we played Man City. It can go one way, we can get in Champions League, and we can do 9 bunny show. It can go the other way, and we won't be in Champions League, and we're sort of back to the drawing board. And it's sort of like Casey didn't get that Champions League, and sort of, and then maybe she was promised certain things if she got Champions League, so then she thought, you know what? I don't know. Obviously, we don't know everything. We're never going to know everything. They're never going to tell us everything.
But when you see your manager like as often, and when you hear things, when you talk to things, don't you? This was completely out of character. I know we're going back a few months now, but it's still a good topic to have, especially at the moment, because what's going on at the club now. Obviously, Casey was fully aware of it. When things are out of character. Even now, like the players going to the PFA, that's not normal. It might be with a couple of clubs in women's football, but it's still not right. So obviously, again, just how bad must it have been for the manager to leave, for the players to go to the PFA, for us fans who are really low on that. I mean, anyone who follows us on Twitter, we are really positive, and but obviously the last 6 months, we've turned negative in some cases. Obviously, we still back the players and back the new signings that will come in, and but generally regarding the club, even we've lost a lot of heart regarding what they've done with our women's team at the moment. So, Atanu, do you want to have the last word on this one regarding Casey leaving, and the kind of like the last straw for her?
Yeah, I think the issues have been there for quite some time. It's just because players like Leah Garton and Tobin Heath were performing so well initially in the first half of the season that we chose to not, pay much attention to it. But once we started losing, and then Casey also resigned, then after that we came to know what all is happening behind the curtains. And I think this was not getting the top 3 spot was actually, as we've seen many journalists report, that it was actually pretty hurtful to Casey, because it was as if it was a personal failure for Casey Stoney. So I think, I personally didn't want her to leave, but I guess it's better to just start over again.
Atanu, do you want to just answer Karen's question on screen? What are your thoughts on that one? I mean, do you think Man United really care about the women's team? Obviously, me and Nat speak quite often, so I want to kind of get you guys in there as well to get your points across. But do you think that the United really care about the women's team, or is it just a case of there's a bit of pressure on us? We need a women's team. Let Casey do all the work, and then all of a sudden, Casey's gone. What do we do now?
I mean, in my opinion, it was sort of a publicity gimmick when they announced the women's team back in 2018, because they sold dreams and promises to Casey, and like we know that they promised that they'll develop Cliff more, and the training facilities would be developed more, and women's team would train over at the Cliff, but that didn't happen. And this is one of the examples, and we've seen in the past that she hasn't been given the transfer budget that she deserves. I mean, winning the championship in the first season and coming top in the top four in the second season and in the first season of the WSL. And I mean, she deserved more backing from the management, and I think she didn't get that because the Glazers, the board wants to milk out money out of the club.
We'll move on to our next topic then, Yehuda. I don't know what it is. I haven't spoken to you about it yet. So, what is it that you want to talk about, mate?
Basically, the last question is pretty much what I want to talk about, because my it's not just feeling; it's looking on what is happening and seeing that the club really don't care, because if the club did care about the women's team, I don't know why. In 2018 the women's team was set up, and for 2.5 years it all looked great, but suddenly you see something happen. I don't know if at first there was some kind of a plan, some kind of a vision, and now for some reason it's lost. But at the moment it seems that I don't know if really they don't care, but they don't put respect to the name of Manchester United the way they treat the women's team now. Because if they would look on the women's team as Manchester United, as a team that should be at the top place, they would sort out all of the issues a long time ago. At the moment the Casey left, I had a big red flag in front of my eyes, and I knew that something is going down. And you see, I know there's about 2 months, a little bit less until the start of the season. It's a long time, but up until now, you see the other rivals of us at the top, they are doing business. And if those teams are doing business, it means that there are less good players for us to try and get. And if Casey left, how long ago it was? A month and a half, something like that. And no replacement has been. It seems that there wasn't even someone in mind, because the reaction is so slow. And suddenly, okay, so they appointed an interim manager now. It all looks like, okay, let's try some quick fix, and it's like they decide things on the go now. That is how it seems now. And of course, all of the things in the background of the facilities, the condition that the players had. I saw something about the certain players that were in apartments that were not exactly good quality, not in the level that a Manchester United player should have. When you see those things, of course, for itself it's not nice, but it also says something about the feeling of the hierarchy in the club about the women's team, that they don't put even enough effort to give the players a proper housing. So how could they, care about the squad, about if we will get to Champions League next season or not? For me, the way things are going now, it's backward, because we were in the middle of a process that seems that we need to start a process all over again. But why? Why does it have to be like that? We had a good manager who had a vision, who had plans about this team. And the moment she's gone, and another players went after it as well, the whole thing, it's basically broken up, and you need to start again, which is okay. Okay, sometimes the teams and squads have to build themselves from fresh, or nearly from fresh. But when you see that the club doesn't really put enough effort in it. So, for a process of rebuilding to get to the level that we want to get, it has to be. You have to see results. You have to see things happening. You have to have something that tells you, okay, this is where we want to go. But it doesn't even look like rebuilding. It just looks like standing in place and not really moving anywhere. So I'm very, very worried because I think the whole fun, like you just talked about before, the fun of the women's team that were, they were distant from all the noise around the club and around the men's team. But now it's like we are in it, and it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign, but tell me, you guys, if you feel the same as me, or maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know, but I feel very strongly about this, and it's very deflating to see how things are going right now. But I don't know. Maybe things will change for the better. I don't know. I hope.
I don't think you're overreacting. I think a lot of people, and it's quite easy to say that, you don't care about the women's team. And I think potentially they don't when it comes to like the facilities and things that's gone on behind the scenes. You talked about like the housing. I get all that. I think two things. The first thing is they actually put a statement out, or obviously a quote or something in one of the articles lately, saying that they waited a good number of years to set up Man United women's team. They've done that, and now they're looking at like progressing it and going further. So to me, surely when you set it up, you should automatically think about like their well-being, i.e., where they live in their accommodation and all the facilities, all that there. So that's one thing. But I think the main thing here is, I'm not saying that they don't care. That could be the case, but I also don't think that they've got the knowledge to even know how to run the women's team. I'm looking around who above the manager really knows anything about women's football, who's looking after it. We know John Murtaugh's been involved in it, but he's higher up now. He's in a different role to when the women's team first started. He's obviously got the men's team in his mind because everything, such a big process regarding transfers in the summer, his mind's elsewhere. We mentioned, a couple of other names who are involved helping out, but they don't particularly want any role. They just kind of fell into that. The fact that we've got like a financial director kind of overseeing the women's team at the moment. So I think, it might be the fact that they don't care, but I think they need to appoint people who know what they're doing, who do care, and then let's go from there. I think that's what the board and the club need to do first. Get people actually in the club who know what they're doing, and then go from there. But Nat, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, I don't. It's hard. I don't know. I don't think they don't care. It's just. I mean, you could say they don't care about the men's team. They just care about making money. The Glazers, since they've come in, I think we've seen there's been lacking of investment in Carrington for the men's side, for the academy, for the first team, and now obviously we're just seeing it for the women's team. I think they thought potentially it'd be quick, it'd be easy, it'd be hassle-free, it would be simple, and the name would get them by. The name and a first initial payment would get them by, and I think they've underestimated how big it is. I think I talked about it last night. It's its own team in its own right, so it needs its own kind of support system around it. It needs as many doctors, as many physios, as many performance coaches, whatever the men's team has got, the women's team needs, because it's two teams. You can't just have all these staff on the men's side and then not the same amount of people on the women's side. And I think Casey wanted a lot of people and probably felt like it was good, championship. I know we run very small amount of staff, and then that got built up, and it's like I said in the statement, that's built up again. They've added doctors and physios and stuff, so you can't say, oh no, it's totally they don't care. But I just think, like what you said, John, it's that mentality that they have for the whole club, not just the women's side. And Man United, when Casey joined, she said can change the face of women's football. And I think with what we've done with this show, with the supporters club, with the, you know, when the Americans came in and the way that they, you know, Manchester United is a massive brand around the world. And if Manchester United women are on top of the, you know, it could change. I do agree, it would change women's football. But you've got someone there who potentially doesn't see the benefit of that, sees, you know, in the way that they terminated the team, you know, saying it's unprofitable and loses money. Well, yeah, women's football is losing money, and you're not going to get money from women's football like you do from the men's side. So there is an element, yeah, they were pressured into it, and now it's starting to bring in a bit of money, but it's not going to be done overnight, you know. We've seen a Sky deal. That doesn't mean you're going to be making profit every time, but obviously they need to make profit to then bring in more investment and get more of this. But it's not easy. You know, I've heard Claire Rafferty, Chelsea, they've won everything in England, and they're struggling to bring in sponsors. So, you know, women's football is still behind, and you've got to put in time and effort and investment. It's not just going to come to you on a plate because your name's Man United. And I think that's a sort of shock, a wake-up call. And then they've had another one in that, you know, they've sort of shown like you can't treat men the same as women in a way, you know, because that's why the players are now going to the PFA, because they're frustrated about not hearing anything. And it's when, you know, they're not saying tell us the names, they're saying tell us an update, what's going on. And then, you know, I'm sort of going on to my topic here, but Catherine I can't even say her surname, Bratia, said there's been a meeting and they're talking about, oh, when we're going to decide and who's going to come in. And it's like, you don't need these many meetings. You know, like what said earlier, you need to just, you know, you must have known Casey tried to resign before she went. So he's telling me just having a meeting now to discuss what's going on. That makes me feel like you're not having a meeting to discuss when the manager's coming in. You're thinking, should we change the whole situation? For example, I said yesterday, they need all this staff. So Barcelona have staff. They have a women's director of football. They have a woman who looks after. Let me just bring it up. Sorry.
They got four. They got four. They got like four people above, four positions above the manager, or three.
Sporting director, women's team, coach of the women's team, director responsible for women's football, sporting director, manager of women's football. All these kind of roles and things that you need. And I think they've not really thought about that. They just thought, you know, job share. We've got a director of football, so that's it. One. No, you need two. You know, you need another person, even if it's just mirroring John, you know, someone who works part-time. When John's not there, they can do the same role. But we know that they don't want to put money, you know, they've been sort of forced to invest in the men's team through all these protests and all this. You know, we've seen that they've only just put paint on Old Trafford now. You know, they've only just put in new pitches in Carrington. So things like that, you know, they're businessmen. They're not football men. And they're just looking to get as much money as possible. And that's why I say things like, you know, what Muster doing sign for United, making sure that the fans' voice are at the heart of everything that we do. Because for me as well, there's more men's fans than there are women's fans. That's just a fact. So is it a case of Sancho, Varane, so-and-so, and everyone's appeased and there won't be anyone storming the pitch? But what happens with the women's team? Is anyone really bothered? Are people not going to go because of the women's team? People going to storm a pitch because of the women's team? No, and it can just, like what John has just said, it can just fade away. Not fade away, but, you know, like Liverpool, they've still got a women's team. So people are saying, oh, they're going to fold it. No, they won't, because that'll be even worse, you know. But they'll just let it tick along, you know, and slowly, less investment. I mean, everything that's going on with us happened with Birmingham, and the way that we all said this is wrong and this is what needs to happen and FA need to come in. But now it's sort of, I'm seeing tweets that people are saying and laughing, and I'm thinking, It's no different. They're all players, and we should want the best for the whole of the women's football. Liverpool, Birmingham, Man United. This should be more standard, and it probably is on the FA. And people are, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I just want to know what people think. Do they think we need more? Sporting director for the women's, a director responsible for women's football, these kind of things, a director responsible for the women's academy, separate from like how we had Nikki Buck. Do we need someone like that for our academy? Overseeing all the different teams from up into from academy to first team. Do we need things like this?
John, you've obviously followed women's football for a long time. What do you think about the structure of not just Man United, but the club structure in general? Just women's football in general. Do you think there needs to be multiple layers above the manager to the board or the chairperson?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, and that's right. To mirror what happens with the men's. The men's structure isn't successful by coincidence. It's successful for a reason. And the women's team is a different entity, so it needs to be the same. If I could just wind back to what the guy said 2 minutes ago. As you know, I've worked with girls' football, grassroots for a long time, and I currently feed 2 WSL clubs close to me for their academies. But I've been doing this for a bit, and Arsenal were the leaders, and then Birmingham, emergence a bit of Birmingham and Liverpool, and then obviously Man City and Chelsea have put money into it. But it was missing something. And the day Manchester United decided to invest in women's football, for me, women's football changed. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, but Manchester United is the brand of football. And the day they said, right, we're going to do it. But I think if Man United do end up happening what happens to Liverpool, it's going to have a much bigger effect, I think, on the whole WSL. Because Manchester United, they are watched by the world. And that's a disappointment as well for me, because I have to try and remain, even though I am a United fan through and through, I have to try and, because of what I do, I have to stay unbiased if I can at times. And that's the disappointment for me. But so I just think if Manchester United, the day they invested, it was a big day for women's football, because perhaps not the world, perhaps that might be exaggerating, but a lot of it stood up and took notice when Manchester United put money into it. And if it was just a game, or or it wasn't, really sad. Yeah, it's really sad. Going back to what you said about structure, yeah, I think structure is important in everything we do, and even the men's didn't have a director of football. Do you know what I mean? And Manchester United again need that. They're a massive brand, and they're different people. A coach doesn't, a director of football can smooth out matters between players and the manager. And I'm obviously, my experience is only with youngsters and kids, but they all still want the same thing. They all want to play every minute of every game. They get disappointed, and actually with kids, you get the parents on you as well sometimes. So you have to be able to do it. But a club like Manchester United needs layers for sure. Definitely, I agree.
Atanu, there's a couple of things going on here then. So Yehuda's obviously mentioned do the club care about the women's team. So if you want to jump on that one first and then start talking about the club structure, like above the manager, what maybe you would like to see happen?
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, I also started watching women's football because of Manchester United. So John is right there that the day United announced a women's team, the WSL got that charm again. The charm was there, but the new fans came in because Manchester United had a team there. And I think the club, like John, you said previously, that the club doesn't know how to succeed in terms of women's team. So we need someone. I see a lot of people saying we need a Patrice Evra or a Siobhan Chamberlain, people who know something about football. So I'm not saying that bring them in a coaching role, but bring them in a management, bring them in a administrative role, or or create a women's sporting director, create a women's technical director, in those things. And to answer what John said about the structure, I think structure is pretty important because we are seeing now that John Murtaugh has been appointed the director of football. So we are seeing some changes in the men's team. So I think once we start developing the structure for women's team as well, we might see some changes, and we might see the women's team being run a bit better.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. We need to do it quickly as well, don't we? Asanu, I think it's time for your topic, mate.
Yeah, Karen on the YouTube comments also said that the club is more reactive rather than being more proactive. So I think a good example is when Emily Ramsey, when Rambo was loaned to West Ham, the club didn't announce, and like when I saw that people are tweeting about Emily Ramsey, so I thought, what is happening? So I saw a team sheet of West Ham on which she was on the bench. So I thought maybe she's a different Emily Ramsey. But after the buzz was created, after that only the club announced that Emily Ramsey had left on loan. So this is an example that the news coming in from the club is pretty down, and we also that recently a report came in the Athletic that the players are approaching the PFA. So before that there was no official club statement. After that only the official club statement came. So this is something that we need to work upon.
Nat, do you want to jump on that one? And also, obviously, big fans of Siobhan Chamberlain, and we talk about our social media and this, that, and the other. And we're going to have a show on about Siobhan Chamberlain on Tuesday as well. But do you want to just start off on maybe that one? Just like, obviously, I'm not saying that Siobhan should be in charge of our social media, but obviously, she was a club photographer while she was pregnant, and she is very active on social media. The fans love her. Go on, Nat.
The difference between when we had Siobhan doing the club media and when she left and actually had the baby, etc., COVID, etc. It was like chalk and cheese. The difference when she was there doing it, before she did it even, championship year, and then when she started to do it, and then obviously this year, COVID year, just gone. She's not been there, but she's been on MUTV. For me, I think she's someone that will talk to the fans. If Siobhan came out now and said, listen, believe in it, no, she told, you know what I'm saying? That's how I think much respect that we have for her, you know? If she said, listen, guys, because I think she can say it to us in a way that we would understand, and, you know, we'd appreciate it, you know, because she's been in the game long before us. She said the first time she had a goalkeeper coach is when she came to Man United. So she's seen it all struggles before. So she knows how it works. So she just came out and said, and you never know, they might use someone like her. For me, I think it'd be stupid not to use someone like her. She's doing a master's in football, whatever directorship. So for me, I don't know. She's a United legend. The fans love her. Everyone loves her. Everyone speaks so highly of her. She speaks so highly of the fans. For me, I think that would just be a massive tick box. And I know it's not just for a tick box, but that would be big. People would get behind that, you know. So for me, that's a no-brainer. In terms of what Atanu said, in terms of the reaction rate, 100%. It's always been like that, though, as well. It's been like that with the men's side, the academy. They just react to, you know, you don't see a statement, but then if someone says something bad or there's some negative news, bang, Man United have said this, and you think. And they have employed doctors and all this. So why haven't you said it? Why have you waited until this? It's like they're anticipating it. You know? Yeah. It's like they're anticipating it. I think we had Emma on this show, and she said the way that they worded that statement, it was like, we're still supporting. So it's like they anticipate. It's like someone's questioned the fact that you support, but no one even said that. It was just Casey's left, but we still support, but no one said anything. So they knew. They're anticipating it. And you know, it's taken people storming a pitch for Joe Glazer to start to speak to fans. You know, that's our owner. That's the man who should be. You know, you see the Leicester owner on the pitch hugging his players and this and that. Our owner, it took people to storm onto a pitch for him to come and say, listen, let me speak to you. Let's increase communication. Let's do this. And I'm not saying it's not happening, but then they said we'll have more things around the women's game, we'll have more communication, and then all we've seen is this and that. And like you said, I think now maybe, I don't know, they're sort of like, well, the men's side sorted. We can deal with these women's fans, you know, we can deal with that. We've got a women's team. What more do they want? You know, we've got players. What more do they want? Kind of thing. It's sad, but yeah, this is the way this club is. And I mean, probably both Johns might know it a bit better than what, because I think I was about, what was I? About 16 probably when the Glazers came in, a bit younger than that. So I've only ever known these guys really. When I was young, I probably remember a bit more, but I don't. For me, it felt better when it was in the 90s when we were on the stock exchange, and you know, I don't know. But yeah, it's a shame because Casey, she had that vision, and I think she was on the way. She was on the way to it, and you know, like we were saying about director of football, could have ironed out a lot of things. But I think, like I said, Siobhan is for me, it just makes too much sense. She knows players, she knows this, she knows the women's game. It makes too much sense. She can learn from John. But I don't know. They're not going to sit. United ain't going to sit and tune into this and think, oh, actually, what she's saying is right. Or they're not going to sit and look at Twitter and see pictures and think, actually, that's right. They'd probably make them less likely to do it, even though it makes so much sense. But
we're not the only ones talking about it on that. I mean, obviously, Twitter is talking about it. Siobhan's in the spotlight. Just whether or not people who would recruit even are aware of Siobhan Chamberlain's qualities, I guess.
Yeah, and we're not saying, oh, she should be the manager. I'm not saying that, and I know she doesn't want to coach. I'm saying bring her in as a, you know, on that board level. Yeah. For me, it just, you know, they brought in Darren Fletcher, they brought in this, they brought in that. So there is some element of they are, you know, bringing in legends, and, you know, she's a legend for the women's team. She won us the thing. She knows all about it. She's sort of like a mold of Casey in a way. So for me, I don't know, you know, and that's what I think it is. And I think she could tell a lot of people, you know, John, and I'm not saying that they don't know. Obviously, they've learned. I think John actually was doing a good job, but she could help, you know, if they wanted to reach out and get help. And I think we need help. That's why I said the other day, I think PFA might actually be a good thing. But it's whether they think, you know, we're Man United, we don't need to be told, we know, or actually, we don't know a lot about women's football. Let me listen to other people. Because I don't know a lot about women's football. I listen to John, I listen to Emma, I listen to everyone. You know, all of us don't know a lot about women's football. We all listen to each other, listen to other people. You know, there's no shame in that. I don't know. It's just really low, and it makes you feel sad inside. That's something I said with what's going on. But you just gotta hope and pray that you know, they had this board meeting, that something good has come out of it, and that's all we can do. Hope and pray, and just I think things like this, keep talking about it, keep letting them know. I see people every day, where's the manager, and people might think, oh well, things are happening, yeah, but you know, the fact the players doing that I see it as a good thing. It might be embarrassing and it might not be a good PR move, but it's good. It's good for the overall because it's going to make them react, like we said.
I'll bring Yehuda in before we talk about like, the last couple of things. Just that question that Atanu asked about just being reactionary. I mean, surely you can understand that as well. It just seems to be like lack of forward planning for the men's team and the women's team, really.
Yeah, well, you know, all this show seems to be a little bit depressing. Unfortunately, we speak about only bad things because this is the reality now. And yeah, we know when you see the club reactionary like that, it means that there's probably a few people there that don't know what they're doing. Because if you only sit and wait to others to do something or to say something, and only after you do it, somebody is not doing their job right. And you know, when Natalie said that the player is going to the FSA, it's a good thing. I don't know. I don't know, because if the club didn't care until now, they probably won't give a hoot, even if the even if the FSA are gonna say something. But first of all, it's a disgrace that players of Manchester United have to go to an external body for some kind of clarification. It's really is embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. And yes, we are reactionary, probably also with transfers that, we wait until all the other teams pick up the best players, and maybe after we'll say, okay, they done that, so we should do it as well. Like we sit and wait for, I don't know for what. Manchester United things has to go fast. We have to be the pioneers. We have to be above everyone else. And you just sit and wait. I don't know what for. If it's the media side, if it's the transfer, it's everything else. It looks amateurish, really.
Can I just jump in there as well, Yehuda? Just on that point. So, it does look amateurish. We speak about that, but up until 6 months ago on the pitch, we did actually look okay. So everything was going absolutely fine. I think all the problems are obviously off the pitch. So as soon as Casey, Natalie mentioned that obviously what Casey does when she left, she was like, okay, we kind of didn't know what was going on. But on the pitch, we was absolutely fine. So I could see our squad actually developing season on season. And again, we was only 1 or 2 points away off. But all of a sudden now, with Casey leaving, it's like who's looking after everything, and it just seems a million miles away at the moment, don't we? John, we've got a bit of time to talk about a player that we never spoke about last time he was on the show, and that was Jackie. So I want you to kind of give your thoughts and reasons on Jackie, how well she's maybe done in a United shirt. Atanu, I want you to come back with either agree with him or disagree, and then we'll just spend the last 5 minutes or last couple of minutes talking about Martin Howe, because it looks like he's going to take in the pre-season. It looks like he's going to be, you never know, he might even take us into the start of the season if we haven't got a new manager, because let's see how that goes. So, John, over to you about Jackie, mate.
Well, that as we discussed before, for me, players really should get judged on stepping up when they need to. I think Jackie Cronin is a really good player. I don't think she particularly stepped up that well when United needed her. Having said that, I know she was messed about with positions. I think she's better as an 8 coming in at third phase. I think she's good at picking the ball up deep, starting the attacks, but she was pushed to a 10. My thoughts on Atanu. I think she's a really good player, but I think she needs more time. She was pushed to the right wing. For me, she's not a right winger. I think Kirsty Hansen's a better right winger than Atanu. That's no disrespect to Atanu. I like Kirsty Hansen as a player, a little bit biased, but I like Kirsty Hansen. But for me, if Jackie Cronin was that integral to Man United, I think she should have her position and the team should have been built around her. But she was moved to a 10. She occasionally, I think one game she played on the left. And I would have put her and Hayley Ladd. I'm probably very over the top with Hayley Ladd. I think Hayley Ladd is, she just protects the defence. And that's what she does. And as soon as she wasn't in the team looks fragile. And when you give the opposition a sniff of blood that you're fragile, they'll attack you even more and they'll attack your weaknesses. And I do think Jackie Cronin's a good player, a very good player, to be fair. I'm being harsh by saying she's not. You guys have probably watched her more than me. I think she's really good, really talented. But I think if Casey thought she was in the main player, she'd have got a position and the team would have been built around her. And that would have been as an 8 for me. Or if Casey wanted her to be a 10, she'd have played a 10 all the time. And I don't know why you'd move. You want your 10 to score goals, and Jackie hadn't scored a goal. That might have been a little bit unlucky, say. She might have been in position to. But when it comes down to it, I know I'll get comments. about it. I hope I explained my thoughts on Ella Toon satisfactorily last time. It's not meant by hate at all. It's about wanting her to succeed. I think she needs to run more off the ball. I think Jackie Gronin needs to play as an 8, in my opinion, because she can see the game more. But that's it. I mean, but when it comes down to it, United do need her, especially now. They've lost a lot of players, and Gronin needs to step up. People say she should be captain, and if she should be captain, she needs to be stepping up and being 8 or 9 out of 10 every week. You know, that's just my opinion. Probably wrong, but
yeah, like I say, you never actually said that she's a bad player or anything like that. I think you.
I know she's a good player. She's a top player.
Yeah, your expectations of Jackie's up there. You wanted to be getting 9s and 10s every week, and to be fair, I think she was a lot of people's top in the top 3 last season, player of the season. But obviously, towards the end of that season, there weren't many other candidates, was there? So I can understand that. But Atanu, do you want to come in on Jackie?
Yeah, I think John is spot on there when he talks about Jackie as a number 8. In my opinion, also Jackie is a number 8, and playing her on the wing is actually, I don't understand why she was played on the wing, even if it was for one game, because if she's your top player, you want her to do well. So her progress is like her key position is that number 8 position. So if she's your key player, then you have to build a team around her and not use her at different positions. And as to Tooney, I think Tooney is a number 10, and I would also prefer Kirsty Hansen at the right wing. But I think in some games playing Jackie Cronin as the number 10 is okay, but if her key position is number 8, then we should stick to it. And of course, Hayley Ladd has been fantastic. According to me, Hayley Ladd would have been the second or third best player last season, because the day Hayley Ladd got injured, after that our defense was exposed like anything.
I just think that comment on. I think everyone kind of agrees with that kind of position there. So Natalie, obviously it looks like that. Obviously pre-season starts next week. Martin Hole is going to be taking the training, maybe pre-season matches as well. Don't know who's got around him to kind of support him. Obviously, we know that there's like new physios and stuff and people like that, new club doctors, but generally on the pitch, we haven't really heard of any new additions, and there might not be either. If they're waiting for a new manager, that new manager might want to bring their own or settle with what they've got. I guess. Do we need to get into that mentality now that we may even get to the start of the season, or have to wait until after the Olympics potentially before the decision has been made?
For me, I think that would be criminal. And that sounds a bit harsh. Not going to go on harsh, but I think, if there's no, give it Martin then. That's what I say. I think if you're in a position where, for whatever reason, you haven't got a manager lined up, whether that manager's asking for too big a, but whatever, I don't care. Give it Martin then. That's what I say. Or, the person who I would like to see, and I've wrote an article, Charlotte Healy. For me, she is different class. From what I saw her do, build up that under 21, and I know people say they don't want to bring her away from the devs. I call the devs under 21s. They don't want to take her away from that. I 100% get it. But for me, the way she built that up, like Casey, she had no players really. She brought back players that were in City's development team that had to go away and come back. She had one other coach. She brought in Martin actually for the development. Then, obviously Casey met him a few times. He's gone up and been the assistant. She's got her own little team around her. Really good player, really good, physio, all that kind of stuff. She's Casey even was, and for me, I think the way that I see the development, the under 21 girls play, it's just, they've got the grit, they've got the determination, they've got the attitude. She's bringing up under 16s to play in the 21s. Different kind of things. She brought in players, kind of task for her. But for me, I'd give it her. I was saying last night, I'd give it Woody. I don't know. But I think if we go into the season without
him without knowing, and with him.
Yeah.
I think it'd just be disgraceful.
It's only a matter of time before. Yeah, it's only a matter of time. We are going to come towards the end of the show now, anyway. I'm not too sure if we can get her back. She has gone. But yeah, look. On that, I agree. I think if it got to a point where, look, if they've got somebody in mind and they've just got to wait a little bit, then no problem. Just let us know. He's going to be the interim manager. Make sure he's happy with that. It could potentially be, we might have to wait a season. Now, I'm not too sure how it works in the women's football, but it might be a case of, say, in the men's game at one point, Pochettino was waiting for a long time without a club. Maybe if Ollie had got a few bad results, Pochettino would have come in. Maybe it's a bit of a waiting game. Maybe we're waiting for another manager to come in who hasn't left their club yet. That could be the case. But I thoroughly agree with Nat. In the meantime, why not just announce that, okay, Martin Hole's got it for a bit, and then we'll all back him. We'll all back him. Obviously, he's been with us for a couple of 3 years. So I think it will be a good appointment meantime, because he won't rock the ship. He knows what's going on, and that could potentially be the case. I'm not too sure if Natalie's going to come back. She might just come back. But in the meantime, if you all want to just shout out your socials and everything. So, Atanu, I know that you've got a couple of things going on with the United Star. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and give those links a shout out?
Yeah, the United Star is a YouTube channel of which I'm a part, and you can find it at the United Star 2 on Twitter and the United Star on YouTube.
And that does men's team, women's team as well?
Yeah, men's team, women's team, and academy.
Awesome. Academy, I like the sound of that one. And from one academy to another, John, what's all your socials, and where can people find you and go from Academy?
Yeah, thanks, John. I'll be a little bit shameless. Obviously, 135 Not Out is on Instagram at 135 Not Out. On Twitter is at 135NO1. That's sports management, brand management. We work with professional women and also youngsters in sport. But the Football Academy is called Get Pro Academy. We work with clubs in London, and we're opening one in Birmingham and in Manchester soon, which John knows more about. So any girls that want to try and get into academy football, it's at Get Pro Academy on both Twitter and Instagram. Thanks, John.
No problem. Thank you. No problem. And Yehuda, yours is on screen. JUDA 2121. Is that the main place that you're at on Twitter?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Look, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to feel that we'll probably just miss Nat, but thank you to everybody in the comments. A lot of people watching tonight as well for the Friday Night Fan Forum, so thank you very much for coming on. Sorry Ben couldn't make it, by the way, but he'll be back on tomorrow, Saturday Night Live, with Matt and a guest, so that'll be something to tune into. Thank you, Karen, and everybody else in the comments. Really appreciate it. Our 100th show is coming up. Our 100th YouTube show is coming up. So next Thursday, we're going to have a bit of fun and games. We don't know what the women's team is going to be up to. Will there be any announcements? Hopefully by then, but maybe not. So next Thursday, tune in to me, Matt, Ben, Natalie, maybe some others for our 100th show. Bit of a celebration there. We've been going since last September now. So we're definitely looking forward to that one. And loads more shows lined up before and after that as well. So thank you to everybody, and we shall see you again soon. Thank you, guys.
Pleasure to meet you guys. Thanks, John.